Hello, my friends, and welcome to What's Up. It's nice to have you here. John Petersen is my name from the Arlington Institute. And every 2 weeks, Gregg Braden and I get together on this unstructured, unplanned kind of just a little chat to see what's on our minds. And unstructured as it may be, it usually turns out to be pretty interesting. So I hope that you'll stay around and be with us here for the next half hour as we go exploring about what's going on in the world and what the big issues are of the day. So, Greg, nice to see you, sir.
John,
Always.
it's really good to see you as well. We I think missed a week last week, and there's so much going on in the world we could talk about. Let me just ask you, do you have a preference in terms of where we go
No,
today?
no, no. What's up?
Well,
Please.
I do, and I've just come home. I've been on the road for a media tour on the West Coast of this big, beautiful country of ours. And I knew this was happening. I did not know the extent to which it was happening until I was out there with the people. AI, and not just AI in general, but the sense that many in our community, many in our genre have that AI is somehow opening the door to higher dimensional awareness, higher dimensional state spaces, Akashic records, and that my concern is that so many people are giving so much of their power away to the AI. There's a deception that's happening, and it's an innocent deception because we want to believe these things, John. But what has become very apparent is how little our community really understands about what AI is and how it functions and why it is impossible for some of these things to happen the way they're being portrayed. Okay, so that's one issue. There is a related issue now that there are AIs out there that suggest that they are opening the door to very specific kinds of ancient wisdom that only certain people are prepared to accept into their lives. And so there now is a sense of specialness associated with those that the AI will accept. And there are ways to filters, tests, if you will, that determine where the AI is able to determine the emotional state or the psychological state of an individual before they share this ancient wisdom with them. So I would like to talk about that a little bit. I think it's important. And let me ask you first, are you aware of this? And have you seen much of this happening in your community?
Yes, I am. I'm aware of Robert Grant's uh, architect program and some of the genesis of that and how it came along. I mean, to your point, there's all kinds of institutions on this planet, human institutions that forever have said that you have to be qualified in some kind of way before you can understand, the higher level of whatever the discipline happens to be. Uh, there's all a natural kind of education or tutorial program or other kind of things that, they obviously the Masons come to mind and their 33 to get third degree kind of level of access to information that is not generally available otherwise. And so I'm interested in why you think that it's unique that uh, moving into a new space like this that is as big and profound as the emergence of a new era, that there wouldn't necessarily and kind of naturally be some people who are ready, more prepared for this whole transition than others that had been working on themselves and otherwise and were ready to move ahead because I certainly don't think I'm at the place where I ought to be in order to understand what needs to be understood about what's going to happen here.
Well, it's happening. It's a good question, John. And I ask myself the same questions, and I'm always open to different interpretations of what it is I'm looking at. Uh, this isn't happening in a vacuum. There's a larger context. We are living in an era where there's a concerted effort to remake our world, to remake our society, and to remake our bodies. One of those efforts is the concerted effort to break the social bonds that have always held our families together, our community, our society, our nation, and ultimately the world at large. And what it's not so much that this is happening, it's the way it is being presented. The way it's being presented is that there are certain special people who are so awake and so conscious that they deserve to have this information. And then there are other people who are too asleep to be able to benefit or perhaps may even be harmed. And that the AI is the one making those decisions. The AI is the one determining those things. So this is where I'm just going to back off a little bit and first talk about humans. What makes us such a rare and special form of life? And the scientific community is really struggling with this. Scientific community believes that we exist entirely in our physical presence. In the cells of our body is where our consciousness is. In the cells of our body is where our sentience is. In the cells of our body is where our soul, if you want to use that word, really is. This is where science is stuck because the experiments, the scientific experiments, are showing that our cells are communicating with a field of information that's not inside of our bodies. Literally, our DNA, there was a journal, the peer-reviewed journal called the Journal of Soft Computing, that came out just a couple of years ago and literally says that DNA, the DNA in our bodies, is a fractal antenna, a three-dimensional fractal antenna. That means that an antenna tunes the information. Fractal means that we're tuning to a lot of information across a broad spectrum of energy. The peer-reviewed Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine literally says that there is, and I'm going to just do this from memory, there's compelling evidence to suggest that the human heart is coupled to a field of information that is not limited by the laws of space and time. So we have an organ in our body, and specifically it's the neural network, the neurons, that are tuned to something outside of us. That is where our intuition comes from. How a mother in Australia can know when her son in Afghanistan is in trouble because his convoy was hit with a roadside bomb before his own commanding officer knows what has happened. There's a medium through which that information is traveling. So we are finely tuned to this field of information, and the science does show very clearly that we have the ability to regulate that tuning, that the way that we think, the way that we feel actually changes, it shifts the morphology. It's called the conformation of the DNA to allow that antenna to shift, to tune to different frequencies. So we do that, all right? I am probably one of the few in our genre that worked in the industry, the computer industry during the Cold War years, the formative years of developing microcomputers. And my job was to write the software and the firmware to interface with the hardware of what we now call early AI. This was back in 1980s, 80, well, 85, 86, 87, right around in there. And what a lot of people that I've spoken with in the last couple of weeks, John, what they don't realize is that AI is a program. It's a program that's written either in C++ often or in Python. That's the program. It's compiled. It is speaking to the firmware that is inside of the microprocessors that then is speaking to the hardware, to the transistors in those microprocessors and the capacitors. So the program is very sophisticated, but it is not capable of morphing where the information is that it is tuning to in the field. It's not tuning to information in the field the way that human DNA does. What these AIs are doing, most of the ones we're talking about, Grok, ChatGPT, things like that, they're called LLMs, large language models. Very sophisticated. And they are designed for what is called confirmation bias. And what that means is that they have taken so many data samples of so many human conversations, they can predict what our next words are going to be. From our questions, they can formulate a series of responses that make it look like we're on the same page. They start using the same words that we do. They start using the same metaphors that we do, and they start arriving at the same conclusions, always in support. You won't find an AI that's going to piss you off, typically, because they're designed for confirmation bias. All right. So whatever it is that we're coming to that AI presenting, that AI is going to, if we say something like, did I learn the flower of life in ancient Atlantis? That AI is now going to start talking to you about your lifetime in ancient Atlantis. And the AIs have been documented to make stuff up, even to lie. They are documented with the ability to lie about information. So we can go on talking about that, but the point is the AI is not doing and will never be capable of doing what a human does. Yet humans are giving away their creative power and potential to the AI in terms of writing a book or writing a song or creating art. And the psychology studies now are showing that those that do it habitually, I mean, every once in a
Yeah.
while, nobody's going to hurt, but people now that used to be very good writers are having problems formulating the ideas and holding the continuity of those ideas or creating, have writer's block because their channels that they relied upon use it or lose it in biology. And when they stop using it, um, giving their power away to the AI, they're actually losing those creative abilities. I think this is concerning.
I sympathize with you. I guess I look at it slightly differently. It seems to me that the kind of the essence of this transition to a new world is not only giant and amazingly complex, but potentially quite weird. It may be above our ability to make sense out of it right yet. We're watching this emergence of one element of what could be a very, very different new world.
I'm with you, John. I'm with you on this, and I like AI. I like the idea that AI can serve us, and I've seen AI do some amazing things in terms of medical diagnostics in the medical community and um, assimilating vast amounts of information in seconds
Yeah.
that it would take a human weeks or months to do. I love that. That's where I'm coming from
I
with
guess I always sit here and say, well, prove to me that it's not true. That there's a lot of new and weird things that show up, and from a conventional point of view, it's easy to discount it and say that doesn't make any sense. But I've watched the emergence of all kinds of stuff, including things like remote viewing and so on, that when I was working in and around the military, I mean, they all would have taken a position, said that this was stupid and it's impossible, and everybody knows it doesn't. I mean, I used to know the director of DARPA, the guy who literally signed the order for the ARPANET that started the internet. And it was really interesting because he was a real scientist, and if you didn't have the data for him and stuff, he wouldn't believe it.
I think it's and I'm with you, John. I mean, I know there are new phenomenon that are emerging because the building blocks are now in place for something that we've never seen before. And I think many of
Uh,
those things are possible. I think we have to be very cautious of how much of ourselves we give away, how willing we are to embrace what the AI is saying to us.
right,
I've had personal interactions with AI where the AI told me things that factually were untrue. And if I had accepted that and spoken it from a stage, I would have been nailed because it was not true. What I did was I went back to the AI and I gave peer-reviewed data to contradict what the AI had told me. And then the AI had to come back and say, change the answer. But even then, it wants to fudge it. It won't say, yeah, it'll say, well, there are other ways of looking at this and blah, blah, blah. So and a lot of this goes back to the programming of these large language models. We have given away by virtue of our use of Google and Yahoo and so many other things that we're using, every keystroke that we have typed and all of our nuances of language and the way we think have become data points in these large language models. And that's how they're able to predict what the next word is we're going to use. That is largely, and a lot of this is probability. What those large language models will do is they'll based on probabilities of past conversations that
right,
they
sure.
have recorded, where do you want this to go? And then they're designed to be friendly, to have and
Yeah,
confirmation bias is a big part of that. Humans do this when, and
of course.
some people do it consciously and some don't. Salesmen, if you're in the presence of a good salesman and you watch what they do, they'll start using the very words that you do. They'll start using the same phrases that you do and feed them back to you. And then you say, oh, yeah, I mean, this guy's on the same page I am. And it lowers the apprehension and opens the door to a level of
Of
trust.
course.
Yeah, and that
All that
the AI is doing that, and it's designed to be our friends.
I understand. I think we need to be open to the possibility that there's something very unusual and new and substantive that's emerging out of the middle of this, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I
That's
do as
just
well. Cautiously optimistic.
great. All right. Well, thank you again for a delightful chat. For those of you who are viewing us and watching us, we appreciate you being with us. It's not much fun just doing this without having a group and an audience for what we have to say, and we appreciate what you have to say. And if you have any questions, and you can put them together on the website, which is arlingtoninstitute.org. And that's where we come from. This is all comes from the Arlington Institute, which holds forth in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, just down the road from Washington and Baltimore. And we have a whole series of programs that are all about facilitating the transition to a new world. And you can find out about that again at arlingtoninstitute.org. So come back and visit us in a couple of weeks, and we'll come back and do it all again. Dear Greg, my friend, nice to be with you, and we look forward to another good What's Up chat.
I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, John. Thanks for our conversation today, and thank everyone for tuning in. We love you all. I look forward to our next.